the
Okay.
assignment and you just have a submission there.
Okay, well, why don't you put it in there? I'll set up my Moodle tonight and put it on there.
Sure.
Yeah. If you can't figure it out, I'm going to video this for Nikayla. Hi, Nikayla. So what I want to do is get you started on that assignment, your personal assessment, and where you are as a music teacher. What do you do? What do you need to work on? So let's make a list. Let's make a list of the skills and abilities that are required to be a really good instrumental music teacher, band and orchestra teacher at any level, beginning, intermediate, advanced. And certainly you have had, I'm sure, over the years, some great music teachers, band and orchestra directors, and they have certain skills and abilities. So use that as your guide, thinking of people that you know that teach band and orchestra. So what are some of those skills? Let's list them up here. Joe.
Classroom management.
Okay. So they know how to manage a group of kids. And for us, doing what we do, that's often larger groups of kids than, say, an English teacher or a math teacher, because we have, maybe 50, 60, 70 or more kids in our room playing instruments. So classroom management for us is particularly important. Very good. Yeah, Bailey.
Articulating what you want.
Yes, okay. I like the way you said that. It was very articulate, what you said. Articulating what you want. So being able to speak clearly, efficiently, using language that's precise, that's a big thing for me. And particularly when teaching beginners, as you know from brass methods, it's very important to be clear about how to do things, what you want them to do, adjustments they need to make. New teachers tend to have a hard time with that, and as teachers get more proficient and experienced, they're better able to articulate exactly what they want, and that really helps students, particularly in 5th grade, when they're new, and this is all fresh for them, they don't have any experience. The precise language helps them quite a bit. Right? What else? What else? Grace.
Lesson planning?
Okay. So this is one of the things, that can be deceptive, because as we meet experienced teachers, they may not have a lesson plan written down in the format that we're going to make you do for this class, but they do have a lesson plan. Mr. Miller, when you go out and work with Mr. Miller, he knows exactly what he's teaching and what his objectives are and what his assessment is, and if he had the time to sit down and write all that out, he certainly could easily. But when you're an experienced teacher, you don't always have to write it out. Depends though. Some districts, they do require that you submit lesson plans. I remember my first job, I had to submit basic lesson plans. It wasn't like a whole write-up, but it was a basic lesson plan. It was like goals and objectives for each class for the whole week. And on Friday afternoon, I had to submit my lesson plan book to Mr. Wiss. He was my principal, Ray Wiss. And he was a great principal, actually. I respected him a lot. He was very good to me. And he would check it over, and he was actually a musician, so he knew stuff. So, he knew songs that I was teaching. He'd go, oh yeah, good song. I don't know that one. I had to learn. So yes, planning lessons, which for you guys as relatively novice teachers is a more involved process than it is for advanced teachers, but still very important, right? What else? What do you think? Next?
Being flexible.
Yes, flexibility. That is never so true as it is right now. I don't know if any of you guys followed any like music teacher, band director, orchestra director, Facebook groups or anything like that, but it has been quite entertaining to follow the plight of teachers as they deal with adjustments and delivery and so forth. And it's good we have all the support mechanisms that we have now, but flexibility is hugely important. That's not necessarily something I think that I can teach you, but I think you can certainly strive for it and think about it as you learn and grow. What else? A lot more we could put on there. What about repertoire or techniques, or what do you think, Ethan? Anything on there that you'd like to add?
Maybe a little assertiveness.
Say again?
A level of assertiveness.
Oh, okay. I would say that I'm going to put that next to classroom management, Ethan. Assertiveness. Because I think, you know, certainly it's its own thing, but I think that goes hand in hand. I think you'll find that teachers that are good at classroom management have a certain level of assertiveness, friendly, or hopefully not too antagonistic, but they assert themselves over the class. Grace?
Instrumental technique.
Yes. So you got to know the instruments, right? There's a reason we take. Oh. There's a reason we have you take all these methods classes, okay? Because that's very much the nuts and bolts of what you teach every day, all the time, whether you're beginning, intermediate, advanced, high school, even in college, you know, you're still dealing with instrumental technique all the time. And the more you can make that kind of ingrained and kind of unconscious or subconscious, the better, right? So, you know, what is a good left-hand violin technique? What's a good saxophone embouchure? What's a good trumpet posture? You know, all those things, you need to really be comfortable with those. And we'll work on that a bit this semester. There's actually some good stuff in the book about techniques, instrumental techniques and advanced techniques. Matt?
This kind of goes with articulating what you want.
Yeah.
But clarity in your conducting style.
Oh, okay. No, I'm going to put that separate.
Yeah.
Because yes, you're right. It does kind of correlate clarity in conducting. Yes. Particularly at the secondary level, the more you can express what you want through your conducting gestures and motions, and the less you have to talk, the more efficient you are, and the more musical you be, frankly. If you can express something with a conducting gesture as opposed to telling them, it gives you the freedom to be much more expressive, musical, and spontaneous. Because, you know, the minute you have to stop and talk about something, you take a certain amount of spontaneity out of your teaching and your music. All right. Joe?
Like developing concert cycles.
Okay, all right. So repertoire planning.
Yeah.
Well, it's different things. So there's planning concerts, right? So you have the whole idea of, you know, okay, what makes a good concert in terms of program, but also what makes a good concert in terms of educational content, right? We'll get into that later in the semester. That's a big concern of mine, is that we plan concerts that have educational value for the students and address things that we want to be taught. There's a curricular aspect to concerts, not just makes nice, pretty concerts that people want to come and hear, but that actually teach something, right? So that's a whole thing. Yeah, Chris?
A good year in identifying problems.
Yes, huge, okay? I'm going to call that diagnostic skills. So, yeah, and this is a big thing for you guys particularly, who will spend more time in lab band teaching and conducting than the other students. This is a big thing I'm going to really hone in on you guys with, which is being precise and clear about what you hear. That's a big challenge, and something that at this point for you guys, because you all know how to conduct, you all have good solid musical skills. The question now is, can you apply those when you're waving arms in front of an ensemble playing instruments? It's going to be a little weird this semester, but still, you know, can you hear? And we may do some exercises. I haven't done them in a couple years, so I don't think you guys have experienced this. But sometimes I'll tell the players to make deliberate mistakes, or I'll ask them to do something wrong, and see if you can figure it out, right? That can be useful, and it's something you kind of learn with experience. It's hard to teach; you kind of have to just experience it. But there's a certain kind of ears that you use when you're conducting an ensemble. What else, Matt?
What Grace said, but visually. So like,
What do you mean?
Like if you see that they're not watching you.
Oh, okay.
figure out that they're focusing.
Okay. So orally and visual. So visual identification. Yeah, that goes along with instrumental technique. So you see a kid who sounds a certain way on the trumpet or something, and you can see from looking at them what they're doing that they need to repair, they need to fix. Yeah. Really good teachers really can hear somebody play and know pretty closely what's probably going on technique-wise. I can hear certain trumpet tones, and I know what exactly is happening with the embouchure wise or air wise or something. What else with repertoire? We talked about concert planning, but knowing repertoire is huge. So I'll say repertoire knowledge. So number one, you should have a library of pieces that you know pretty well, that you can teach fluently. But then you also have the skill of learning how to identify a new piece and tell what it teaches, how hard it is going to be. At this point, for me, I can, after 30 plus years of teaching band and orchestra, I can look at a score and I can pretty much tell you what problems the group is going to have as they get into playing the music, especially if it's a group I know pretty well. So I'll know, oh yeah, they're going to have intonation problems there. Oh, the saxophones are going to struggle with this section. Flutes are going to crash and burn right here. So on the rare occasions, the flutes have a crash and burn. So it's knowing pieces, and it's also the ability to get to know them really quickly and efficiently. Grace?
Assessing the skill level of your ensemble.
Okay, all right.
I don't know how to.
And adjust accordingly. I'd say adjusting to the skill level of your ensemble. So, my handwriting's getting worse as I go. Adjusting skill level. So, yeah, I mean, the key in hearing and telling the skill level is then adjusting your teaching or your repertoire or your focus so that it closely matches the skill level of those students that you have. Yeah, I get asked to do honors bands and orchestras and stuff, and the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes of that rehearsal, that first rehearsal with this guest group that you're working with, is mostly me doing that, going, oh, okay, well that section is pretty strong, that section is weak, I need to work on that tone over there needs some work, so on and so forth. So I'm adjusting my focus as I'm here. And you'll do that even with your regular kids. Anything else? This is a good list. We got a lot of stuff up here. Anything else you want to put on here? Yeah, Grace.
I'm not sure if we've already covered this, but I guess criticism, the way you give it, if it's constructive or not.
Oh, okay. Addressing criticism, or I'll say addressing mistakes. So how do you make adjustments when you hear things that are not right? Right. Good. Yeah, it's like that last video. I'm trying to think. It was, remember, lab band, and I guess it was for lab band. We looked at a bunch of videos, and there was that last one, that band director in Louisiana, and he was great at addressing mistakes. He was really good. But one of the things I noticed that he was real positive, and he knew how to take what they did and build it into what they could do better, right? Anything else? So think a little bit about some of these things that you have in hand, some of these things you want to work on, okay? Maybe some other things that I haven't brought up here. And that is what you use to put together your personal narrative assessment, okay? What are these things you can do really well? And then maybe some thoughts about, what you can do to get better at it. Repertoire, if If you don't know a lot of repertoire, well, I'd like to go hang out in the library a bit, and, look at some scores, or maybe I want to do some internet research and poke around in some repertoire that I'd like to get to know. Or, say instrument techniques. Well, I'm not super good on saxophone. I'd like to sit down with a saxophone and get better at the saxophone playing so I can teach it better. Okay, so, Matt?
For this assignment, do you want it to be like bullet points, or do you want it to be like paragraph?
Mostly paragraphs, but your paragraphs may kind of be bullet points where you kind of talk about one of these issues. In other words, if it is bullet points, I don't want you just to kind of, I need to know more about repertoire. I want you to elaborate on it.
So like for each point,
yeah,
smallish
yeah,
paragraph, elaborating.
yeah, really get into it. I want you to think a little bit. This is kind of the process of doing this assignment is as important as the actual end result. You sitting down there and thinking, well, what do I do well? That process of thinking about that is half the battle, if not more. Okay? All right.